Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and tonight I want to welcome Todd Evans and Byron Boldt here. We are going to look at our top 3 Todd Rundgren albums. And I'll tell you this, I've got my top 2, but that third one was a bit tough. So without any further ado, let's get this one started.
I'm a musical shark in a way. I can't do the same thing over and over again. It becomes joyless for me in a way. Mm-hmm. If I were to go out and play the same set night after night for 3 months, I would probably not want to ever do that again. Regardless of how remunerative it is, because I'm selfish in some ways about music. I need to entertain myself. I need to have enjoyment about it, and I kind of dread the phenomenon where you've been in the music for so long that you essentially resign yourself to being more of a performer of your songs rather than a musician. In other words, you're a jukebox for people, and you could go to Las Vegas and work for months if you've got enough hits. Of course, I don't, but if you had that long string of hits, you could put something together where you just play the hits night after night after night after night, and it makes me die inside, to think I'm not making new music, that I'm only rehashing old music.
Welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, and I want to start off and welcome Byron Boldt to the show. Byron, how are you?
Good evening.
Well, we're supposed to have Todd Evans here, but I'm not sure where Todd Evans is. But I do have Byron, so that's half the battle.
Todd had 8 o'clock down, he said. So he says he's going to be here.
Oh, 8 o'clock. Okay, well, whatever. We're going at 7. I want to welcome everybody, for one, who has been in the chat, talking in the chat, and getting things all warmed up. I want to thank everybody. This is going to be a great discussion. We are going to look at our favorite top 3 Todd Rundgren solo albums. Now, I had someone earlier say, hey, are you looking at Utopia albums? No, we already did a show on that. If you look back on my channel, there is a Utopia show dedicated to that. But now we are just looking at Todd Rundgren. And like I said, I want to welcome Byron Boldt and Todd Evans if he was here. But he's not here. He's coming, hopefully. So anyway, we're going to look at our top 3 Todd Rundgren albums. First of all, how is everybody in the chat? Oh, there he is. And welcome to Grant's Rock Warehouse, Todd Evans.
Thank you.
Evidently, we had, I don't know.
We had a mix-up.
We had a mix-up.
It's whole time zone thing.
I had a different time.
No, it's okay, but we are good. We have Todd Evans in the house. Welcome, Todd Evans. How are you? Are you ready to talk some Todd Rundgren tonight?
I am. Thank you.
Sorry to kind of got it all discombobulated, but we're all right.
He's got his Bearsville shirt on. He's ready.
Kids, if anybody knows Todd Evans, he's a professional, and he can. You can get him back on a show like that, so it's not like a problem.
Sorry to keep everyone waiting.
You didn't. We started it anyway. But if Todd, if you've been looking in the chat, we have had people commenting on this show since about 6:30 tonight.
Oh, I see that.
There is comments galore, so I'm thinking that, well, I don't know, this might be a good show. So
yeah, maybe.
Might be.
Not maybe. I'm sorry.
Well, But I did say, like in the intro, I said I knew my top 2 records, but my third one was hard. My top 2 easy. My third not so easy. So we might as well get started. Byron, do you want to start us off with your? We're gonna go. Let's do our number. Let's
go first. I don't care.
What's that?
I started with the Utopia. Maybe Todd wants to start on this one. I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Why don't you start, Byron? I'm still getting
he's a little rushed.
He's trying to get his ducks all in a row.
Understandable.
So gentlemen, I figure what we would do is start out with our third and work ourselves down to our number 1. So Byron, for God's sakes, let's hear your number 3, and please make sure it's a good pick.
I've got 10 of them at number 3 right now.
Do you really?
No.
I wouldn't be surprised.
But it's hard. He's got 25 albums or something? I don't know. So there's a couple I had to leave off. I was like, man, I don't want to leave these off. But
And Todd, before we get started, I just wanted to say I got all my props ready tonight. Usually I fail with that. I've got all my props
You don't
pulled.
do so bad.
Well, I'm not like you. You're like you and Byron are ready. But
Hey, I was going to ask this before we went live, but
yeah.
can we have a little short honorable mention section at the end?
Oh, I'd love to.
Because of how hard this is.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
I think that's
Okay.
great. If you
All
guys
right.
can do this in an hour, we can have an honorable mention section. All right. Thanks everybody for showing up. Please leave a like. Please leave a comment. I want this interactive. So, all right, Byron, let's go. Let's hear your number 3.
All right.
And everybody in the chat, please put your number 3 in so we can talk about it. I will bring it up on the screen, for God's sakes. I'm that kind of guy. All right, Byron, let's hear it.
All right. So for my number 3, I'm going to go with Healing. Which, I remember when this first came out. I didn't really start buying Todd, though, till a little later. But this got airplay and was one of the first albums that I remember hearing as it was released by him. This album I would describe it as, at least the second side is very new age, very relaxing, spiritual at times. Some of the first side is like that as well. But then there's a couple tracks that it's like, yeah, that's definitely a Todd type song, where it's pretty standard stuff. But, the first song, Healer, is really good. It starts out with this Eastern kind of style vocal, I think. My eyes, or you don't want to hear me sing, but
yeah, please don't.
It's got a lot. It's kind of got odd time signatures to it. A lot of layered vocals, very keyboard heavy. Pulse is the next song, which kind of it sounds like a vibraphone with this quirky pattern, but it's more of a keyboard. I think it sounds like a vibraphone. Flesh is another real slower track. A lot of it's just real mellow at first, and just keyboards and vocals, and then it kind of builds up to this climax, and then at the ending it's kind of mellow again. Then you get into this Golden Goose, which almost sounds like a carnival song. It's really quirky and playful. I don't really know what it's about, but it's just a really good song. Then the next song, Compassion, is just a really beautiful ballad, slow one. It was a single. I don't think it did a whole lot, but kind of reminds me of some of his other ballads that he did shortly around this time. Shine. This is a pretty long song. Just starts out really emotional with this just piano and vocals, and then it goes quiet, and then this keyboard synthesizer sequence just kind of explodes out of your speakers, almost startles you, like it kind of lulls you to the beginning is just kind of lulls you to sleep almost, and then like I said, it explodes, and it's just a really good song. I don't know what I'll say about that. But so we get to side 2 though, which, well, this is a CD, but on side 2 of the album, it's the Healing. It's a 3-part song, and I'm not a big lyrics guy. I don't really know if this side is about healing, like the title, or if it's about preparing you for maybe your afterlife. Maybe it's a little bit of both. But the first part, it's like he's almost talking to you like he is a hypnotist, and he's like, listen to my words, how to relax, and he's almost putting you under. But then the second part, it's even slower than that. And it's very Eastern sounding with like pan flutes, and sounds like a kodo. Mm-hmm. That's the right instrument I'm thinking of. And then he's talking about how where you're going, you can't take your body. You're on a journey. The baggage is too heavy, which almost sounds like you're dying. I don't know. Or it could be just that you are in this state now where you were hypnotized. Like I said, I don't really know.
I think you're checking out at that point.
But then part 3, it's kind of a continuation of part one, and the pace picks up a little bit. It's a little more upbeat, and it's more about being content with the piece that you have achieved in the first two parts, it seems like, and being happy and just kind of being at ease with yourself. So I don't know. And I've read some comments where people's talked about how like they have family members who are dying and they play this for them as they're ready to expire. So I don't know. It's pretty heavy.
It's heavy.
And then the last two tracks are Time Heals, which was a single. Technically, it wasn't on the album. If you had the vinyl, it was a 45.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a great song. It had a video. And that's about, how we can get hurt. We have these wounds we can't see, like our heart, bad relationships with breakups, things like that, and how time will heal those wounds for you. And then Tiny Demons is the last song. And it's, I'd say it's a very slow, dark, haunting song. And talking about, the demons inside you. It's got this guitar solo. It sounds like a whale almost. But that's the end of the album. So
I think that's a good. Well, I almost chose that one, but I didn't. I do have a question though. You remember back when was it, in the 90s? I don't know, but Tiny Demons was played in some TV show.
It was, and I don't remember which, but I do remember that. Yes.
What, X-Files was it?
I don't think so.
God, I can't remember. Someone in the comments helped me out, but it kind of got like a little bit of a resurgence, so to speak. But I don't know.
Yeah, I wanted to say too that Healing came very close for me for one of my picks, and I remember liking the first side and not liking the second side for like 3 or 4 years, and I remember where I was when and what I was doing when I decided that I was just going to sit down and put the headphones on and learn side 2. And it was when I was in college and I was sitting outside in the back deck and I just I got in a hammock and stared at the sky and put the headphones on. And that did it for me. Wow. But I went like a couple of years with just thinking, I don't like side 2. And then
you got to be in the right frame of mind to listen to it.
Yeah.
You're not gonna. Oh yeah, man, this rocks.
It's one of those albums. If you remember back in the day, there were tons of them in the cutout bins. Remember that? It didn't sell. I don't know. We all know the whole thing with Bearsville. It was amazing. He sold anything, Maybe I'm thinking about the Sons 84 at the choir. Not sure I recall Healing with the choir.
There's a video.
I think you might be thinking Sons in 1984.
Well, there's a video I just saw the other day of him performing it with, I think, was it the Utopia reunion from like 10 years ago? Where they had like a choir of high school kids.
Utopia Mark I reunion. Is that what you mean? Or,
yeah. He did the whole side on that.
It's possible that he did that on the acapella tour. I saw the acapella tour.
I saw acapella tour.
And it's possible that he did Healing. I don't remember that, but that would explain the choir. Mammy Vice, thank you.
There's Zeb. Thank you. I knew Zeb's always coming through for us. Miami Vice episode, Little Prince. Yes. And that got kind of a little bit of resurgent on, gave it a little bit of boost, but not quite enough. But yep, that's where it was. God darn, Zeb. But yeah, that's an excellent, Byron.
I'm glad you guys were considering it as well.
Well, I was considering it. It was close because I do think it's brilliant, All right, I'm going to throw it over to Mr. Evans now and see what his number 3 is.
Okay, my number 3 is Second Wind.
Holy mackerel! I never saw that coming.
Second Wind is kind of, I kind of put Nearly Human and Second Wind as kind of a pair because they were the two Warner Brothers albums that came out after Acapella, which was already completed. Where it seems like they gave him some money and. The just some background on it. There was a Rundgren wrote a musical version of a Joe Orton play called Up Against It, and I'm not totally sure what actually happened to that, but 3 songs on this album came from Up Against It, and so it does have sort of a theatrical kind of a feel to it. There's one song that there's one or maybe more that were actually recorded like live on stage. And there's at one point during one of the transitions on this album, there's some crowd noise.
Have you heard the Up Against It CD? There is a Up Against
I've heard
I
it.
have not.
Okay,
It's a Japanese import.
Okay.
You might want to pick it up if you're one of those people that collect everything. You might need that in your collection.
Yeah, I would actually really
you
like to have
probably
that.
would dig that, Todd. You would dig
Yeah.
it.
It's very Broadway. Go ahead though.
Hopefully
But
I'm not gonna hear anything in the comments about how I should have that and I don't. But I don't have that and I would like to
You
have
should
it.
have that.
Yeah, you got to watch yourself with these people.
Right.
The people in the chat are hardcore,
No,
so you got to watch.
They're very nice people.
They are.
There's Zeb. Thanks, Zeb. So I just think that these songs are really Change Myself and Love Science. I've never really been crazy about Love Science, but I really love Change Myself. Who's Sorry Now is great. The Smell of Money is just spectacular. It's Todd doing his quirky voice, which I always like to have at least one song on a Todd album where he does his quirky voice. And If I Have to Be Alone is fantastic. And one of the things that I really Kindness is really beautiful too. Man, gorgeous arrangement on that song. But Second Wind is really great because it's I think it's this is a big. I probably shouldn't say this because you can go back to Initiation and things like that, where in the first Utopia album where you can say this, but it's one of the most proggiest things that Todd's ever done. I think the song Second Wind. I think it's fantastic, and I love the way this sounds. There's lots of people on it. Roger Powell from Utopia plays on it. Vince Welnick plays on it. Ross Valerie from Journey plays on it. Perry Prince. So just a great album. I was surprised when it came out how good it was. I was always a little bit lukewarm on Nearly Human. It's got some good songs on it, but there's some stuff I don't like about that one. But when this one came out, I was all in. And so this is my number 3.
Todd, I'm surprised you didn't pick something off of this because normally I'm not critiquing, but Second Wind kind of it didn't get as good of reviews as this record.
Yeah, and the peak position, I just had it here, number 118 on the Billboard 200.
Yeah,
but
which is unbelievable if you think about it. Because Todd was doing some great stuff during this period, but
he was.
Everybody still kind of looks at this record as, I don't want to say it's a masterpiece, but in high regard during this period because it's very soulful. Even though I didn't pick it for my number 3, but I'm showing it right now, kids, for the heck of it.
I like the album. I like that album. I think side 1 of that album is really great. I think side 2, it's not my favorite. I'm not crazy about how it ends.
Well, the thing that I had a problem with it, I know we're talking all over. It doesn't matter. It's the way we do this on the show.
That's sort of my
CD,
fault.
I think the album, the vinyl sounds better than the CD. The CD is very, how do I want to say it?
CD doesn't sound great, and that's
what I have. It doesn't sound good at all. Yeah. It's a hard listen.
I have a Friday Music Record Store Day version of it that's on, what color vinyl is that on? Yellow, I think, and that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, but it could need a remastering and warmed up a bit. That's the thing I always had a problem with the CD. I think Parallel Lines is brilliant.
Yeah, me too.
One of the last great Todd songs. All right, people, don't get mad. But what I'm trying to say is, I think Parallel Lines is brilliant. Let's see what's happening. Even a Utopia reunion on Second Wind. Right. Ricefield says Nearly Human is a masterpiece. Exactly what I was saying. It's just like a lot of people were waiting for that record, and he did deliver it. It's a great record. See, JD's in agreement. Yeah. There's a laser disc of his show in Tokyo performing Nearly Human. Right. I saw him on that tour.
I remember that was a thing.
Yeah, I saw him on that tour. It was great. Hello, everyone. I have that on cassette. Yeah, I'm curious, Brian, how's the cassette sound compared to the CD? Of course, a lot of cassettes were taken from the CD masters.
I had like an early promo cassette of that when it first came out, without the artwork, way back.
Ernesto, I thought you were a Todd Rundgren aficionado. I'm really disappointed. Herman of Downtown Music Gallery. Herman of Mick Hollow is number 3. I can't argue with that. It's a great record. It's one of those records everybody wanted him to make, kind of like that thing. Rice Fields. Yeah, that Laserdisc was later released in a 3 for DVD pack. I'll be damned. All right, kids. Well, we're going to go to my number 3. So we've got Second Wind and we've got Healing. I'm going with something else. I saw Todd on this tour. When this album came out, I thought it was absolutely brilliant, and I still do. Talk about experimentation, talking about being cutting edge. You know, I'm almost surprised Todd never did anything with Devo. I'm just saying, since I've been on that Devo thing. But we're talking about the 1985 album Acapella. I think the songwriting, the production. I mean, this record was rejected by Bearsville. He had to wait until Warner Brothers picked him up for him to put this out. But he did this totally on the EMU emulator, one of the first samplers, like the Fairlight back in the day. The EMU even predated the Fairlight, I'm pretty sure. But he did all the vocals but with samples. The whole thing is Todd. I mean, absolutely great record. I mean, let me look at some tracks. I mean, Honest Work. Oh my God. Just soulful, engaging, absolutely beautiful. Something to Fall Back On. That was pretty much the hit single. I don't think it charted. Do you guys know anything?
They played it on MTV because I remember I actually caught it on MTV and recorded it on VHS. So I have proof of that, but I don't think it was in heavy rotation.
No. Ricefield. Wait a minute. Arena is actually amazing too. Acapella is a technical marvel, but not my favorite. Oh well, but I get it. But I think it's underrated. You know, I got it the first time I heard it. I thought, oh my God, this is a masterpiece. The fact that he could do that. Think about it. We're talking 1985, but I'm not exactly sure when this was recorded. How long? I think it was finished.
I think something like that.
83. Oh, okay. Acapella was finished
84.
84 and slated for release on Bearsville later that year. So we're talking 84 people. Who was doing anything like this? I'm just throwing it out there.
I remember hearing that Bearsville didn't want to release it, and think not knowing anything about the situation and thinking, what? I thought they had to release everything he turned in.
Well, Grossman, his relationship with Grossman at the time wasn't all that good. And, you know, the only reason they were letting him put out records was because he was doing a lot of production. So that was kind of the thing. So, but I'm surprised they sat on it. But don't forget, Todd, Swing to the Right was rejected too. Mm-hmm. They made them add more tracks or reinvigorate it or whatever. But, you know, there seems, and that was 82. Actually, that might have been done in 81, right?
Yeah, I think that was done early too.
So there was a trend. So,
yeah. It's weird to think that the founder of Bearsville Records would be somebody who didn't get it, but I don't think he got it.
No, he didn't get it.
I really don't.
See, Zeb doesn't like acapella.
I think Zeb meant to say it's now definitely in my top 10.
Zeb, can you rephrase that?
Is that a typo, Zeb?
Zeb, can you rephrase that before we condemn you? Oh, here's DC. Number 1, Something Anything. 2, A Wizard. And then 3, Second Wind or Liars. Look at that. There
are no wrong answers here.
No, there aren't any wrong answers.
Oh, yeah, there are.
Pretending to Care is absolutely Ricefield. You are 100%. It's absolutely brilliant. Beautiful.
See, I was right. Zeb likes it now.
Now. Okay. All right, Zeb.
I just had a feeling.
You're back in good graces with me now. You're all right now. Jennifer Warnes did a version of that, yep. Well, I know, Zeb. It is late in Norway. You're all right. I appreciate you showing up. If I could cheat, I would pick side 1 of Initiation and the original side of Faithful. as an album.
You know, that's a tough one. I don't
That's a
want to say
tough
too
one.
much about it because somebody might have picked it. But yeah, Faithful's a difficult one because it's got two different things and both things are good.
Right.
But together they don't, you know.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is Todd, so we give him. Todd does what Todd does, and so does Todd Evans. Todd Evans does what Todd Evans does, and we just go, all right, Todd. J.D. Gordon did not know. We'll look it up. All right. Well, kids, there's our number 3s. Let's go to our number 2s, and let's go send it over to Byron.
Yeah.
Byron, let's hear your number 2. And I'm anxious.
Oh.
I can't. I'm so worked up. I can't even talk.
You know, I didn't mention on Healing that was one of the albums where he did everything. Well, he does most of his albums all by himself for the most part. So I should have mentioned that because that's going to come up tonight, whether it was an album he did all by himself or with other people. But because my next album is not an album that he did by himself. So I'm going to go for number 2.
Go ahead.
Nearly Human, which we've already discussed a little bit. I love this album. Like I said, when it first came out, a friend of mine worked at like a record distributor company, and he'd bring over promos for me. He brought over a cassette of this and just a white, plain white label. And I was like, yeah, this is great. But so this album was basically recorded, I think for the most part, live in the studio with, a bunch of different musicians, kind of like side 4 of Something Anything, where he had all kinds of people he'd bring in and they would record in the studio. This album is very R&B and soul influenced. Came out in 1989 as Billboard 102 is all it got up to. But the title track, or the first track, One of a Nail, is a great track. Like Todd was saying, side one of this is excellent. The Waiting Game, I like that. It reminds me of something off of Pav by Utopia. Parallel Lines, another great song. He does Two Little Hitlers, which is Elvis Costello. I think it sounds pretty good. Can't Stop Running is a really good song. I think it sounds really 80s though, with the production on that track, but still good. Unloved Children is a very soul tune with a lot of horns, good guitar solo. I like Fidelity. Reminds me again of a Utopia style ballad.
You and JD have something in common.
Then Feel It, which I didn't really realize this till very recently, is also on Love Bomb by the Tubes. We'll have to do a show on that someday.
Now that's the time to plug that. We are doing a show on the Tubes Love Bomb. So keep your eyes peeled for that.
And it's hard to pick which one of those versions is best because they're so similar.
Yeah, they are very
because
similar.
Fee sings it just fine and Todd sings it just fine.
I think I like this version better, but this is because
I'm not sure.
I didn't really know the Tubes version, and I've heard that Love Bomb in the past once or twice, but I didn't remember that Feel It was on there. So I'll stick with this version for now.
Well, Love Bomb's a little bit different of a record. I'll give you that.
So,
but we'll deal with that on that show.
Hawking is the next song, another kind of a soulful ballad, which is really good. The last song, I Love My Life, I think it's a little too long. That's my biggest problem with that track. But it does remind me a lot of like side 4 Something Anything, where they're just kind of in the studio and there's a lot of kind of goofing around going on. But it also has this you get to feel like it's at a Baptist church or something, and he's like a minister and he's trying to get everybody fired up and everybody's all, excited and, hallelujah kind of stuff. But it's a great album. So that's my number 2.
Yeah. Could I tell a story about that album really quick?
Sure.
I didn't pick it. So I was at that show. I saw that Nearly Human tour in Atlanta. And at the end of it, towards the end, Todd comes to the end of the stage and I was in the front row and he says, okay, you, and you up on stage. And a roadie or a security person or something like that, like guided us up on the stage, told us to just jump on the stage. And then he started playing I Love My Life, which I don't care for. And I thought to myself, I have to stand on the stage with Todd Rundgren and dance for 10 minutes while they play I Love My Life. And so what I did was I just stood next to Vince Welnick. I was like Vince Welnick. And so I stood next to him and watched him play basically and just kind of sort of danced. But I remember thinking, oh, cool, I'm going on stage. And then, oh no, what do I do for this whole 10 minutes? But anyway, it was still fun.
We only had video of that.
I'm glad I got to do it.
He has all the best stories.
And there's no video of that.
That's too bad, Todd, because I'd love to have seen that. But hey, you have to admit that was pretty cool that you got chosen to come up. I have to say that is cool as can be.
And how easy it was to get a front row ticket to see Todd Rundgren.
We got a front row seat for the Network album 82, right in the front row. Right in front of Todd, too.
Wow.
That was a great show. Because they were all in their Beatle outfits and stuff. It was cool. Gotta love it. All right. Ricefield says that JD Gordon, you are a super fan. JD might very well be a super fan.
It's looking like it to me.
It's looking like it to me. All right, Byron, thank you so much for your number 2. I'm going to throw it over to Mr. Todd Evans now.
It's going to be a good one.
I can't even imagine what his number 2 is, but we will see, everyone.
Well,
everybody wait. Here we go.
A twist.
Hopefully it won't make anyone mad, but it's a No World Order. And it was almost number 1.
Ooh.
And I think this is a spectacular album.
Let me check and see if we still have an internet connection.
Yeah, that's time.
Yeah, we're still streaming. We're okay. You're right, Todd.
Do you have this, Todd?
I do not. No, I don't.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
But at the time, I almost bought one of those Philips players just to have it, but I didn't have the funds, just to have the Philips CDI or whatever they called that version of it. This, I think, it was CDI.
Yeah.
Philips short-lived CDI format is what it
I've heard. I know someone who had that. Well, like Byron's got one, but I've heard it. I had an actual player that would do it, and you have to admit, it's pretty cool. Well, because the whole thing works.
This thing right here is pretty cool. The fact that you could put it on shuffle and listen to it that way, and the transitions kind of work. They're different than the order. But I just think this album is great. I love the instrumentation of it. I love the way he did the drums, the rhythm section on it. I think it sounds really cool. Lyrically, it's stunning. Day Job and Property and Fascist Christ, I think, are just absolutely brilliant lyrically. And I even like in fact, these days, my older self listens to the No World Order light version almost as much as I do this, because putting them in regular songs kind of makes it a little bit easier to
Zeb,
listen
he prefers
to.
that. So guys are.
Yeah, I think I may agree, Zeb. But this thing, I saw this tour, and this tour was absolutely amazing. Where I saw it was just this club, like out in the suburbs in Atlanta, and it was just in a room, no seats, and he was in the middle, and he was standing on this round thing, and it, if I remember correctly, it spun a little bit, it moved around a little bit, but there were like 2 backup singers on one side of it, and then there was Todd behind a whole bunch of keyboards, and then there was an area that he could step over, and he had guitars there, and so it was just him and a couple of backup singers. And he had these, those red signs that like used to be in airports that are just like scrolling text. He had those red signs, and he would, things that were relevant to the songs, little messages would come up on those red signs. And then sometimes they would say like, everybody dance, or something like that, depending on what he was playing. And it was the coolest, most interactive show that I've ever been to. And I had a blast. And I don't know if anybody here watching or in the comments got an opportunity to see that show, but it was the absolute best Todd Rundgren show I ever saw.
Wow.
And he came back to town next year. And what would that have been for? He came back to town a year or 2 later.
Individualist?
What's that for the individualists?
I saw
Yeah,
that
and I
Sunday store.
expected the same kind of thing, and it was not at all. It was like
Like
they
a rock
started
and-
out with it was a guitar-based
Yeah.
band, and they started out with it was I think Larry Tagg and Brent Bourgeois were in it, and
Oh,
they started
bourgeois
out.
tag.
Yeah, they started out with Black Mariah, and I remember I brought a date because I was like, "Oh, you're gonna love this."
Right.
And she was like, "This is not what you described." It's like, well, with
Right,
Todd, you never know
well,
what you're going to
You
get.
never know what it's going to be. It's kind of
And
like
that was
Neil
great,
Young. You don't
too.
know.
That was great too, that experience, but it just wasn't what I expected. But yeah, just the tour was stunning, and this is a very cool album, and it didn't get us the attention that it
Oh, here-
deserves, but that's kind of.
JD
Oh, JD,
he was there.
it was great, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Did I describe it correctly? It's been a long time.
Holy crap! There's so many comments I can't keep up. We'll go through. Well, Todd, go ahead.
JD, that's where I saw it. We were at the same. We were at the same show.
Michelle Gray was the
Yeah, she
backup
was.
singer.
Yeah.
New World Order tour.
Yep.
Holy crap! There's so many comments I can't keep up.
that show was so good. Saying we're getting off on off topic, I know, but saying
That's
that
all right. We're good.
something was the best Todd tour. Because there's lots of Todd tours that are phenomenal. Liars was incredible, but No World Order was hands down my favorite. So that's my number 2. Sorry, I rambled on.
I'd recommend 2 songs Todd just featured on the Residence Ginger
Seb,
Beer.
I haven't heard those, so thanks for the tip. I'll look those up.
Is that? Wait a minute, Zeb. I don't have all the Residence stuff. So is that a track or is that an album? I need clarification. JD said the Pod Show is genius. I like Healy album. Yeah. God, I can't.
Healing's getting some love tonight.
It is getting a lot of love. Ernesto, I saw Tokyo, San Francisco, New York City over the years. Yeah. Seen Raw, Road, Utopia. Oh, Byron, if I could mention all the Utopia shows I saw. Pod Show in Cincinnati. Nice. Well, I'm sorry, Todd. I kind of interrupted. Anything more to add on that?
No, that was all I had.
Okay.
I love that album so much that I'll just ramble on and you'll have to ask me to stop.
That's okay. Well, I will go to my number 2. Now, my number 2 and number 1 are very easy. Back in the day, this is a record that you could not get. I probably bought this when I was 16, 17, maybe, when I was first getting into Todd. And this record took me a while to track down, and it cost me $25 back in 84, 85, maybe. And it's Runt, the Ballad of Todd Rundgren. So, yeah, I was able to find an original Ampeg pressing.
That actually really did disappear for a while in the 80s. It was very hard to find.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, until they brought it out on CD on
especially the Ampex or whatever they were really hard to find.
Yeah.
But there's the label. But this is indeed an original one. And I paid dearly because what was $25 back in the early 80s? Holy crap.
Yeah, now they're like $8.
Well, now you can find them. But back then, you couldn't find them.
Well, nobody buys Todd anymore, I think.
Well, no, they
That's
sit there. But the album cover was, it's very clean. Yeah, so
nice copy.
But this record, I think my introduction to Todd might have been Something Anything, or it might have been Utopia. Actually, I was much more of a Utopia fan, and I think I've talked about that before. So by the time I was getting into Todd stuff, that was a bit later. But the Ballad of Denny and Jean, Bleeding, Wailing Wall, The Range of War. I mean, this is basically Todd's version of Laura Nero because he was into her at that time, and it's basically a piano record. Now, anytime Todd's playing piano, just sign me up, It's very intimate to some degree, but the songwriting's top notch. Be Nice to Me, holy crap. But if you've ever listened to Laura Nero, the songwriting is very similar to what she would do because he really dug her big time. But yeah, if you never saw it, but the inside of the original album was It folded out with all the lyrics and everything. I don't think when they reissued that on Rhino, I don't think it did that.
I don't think it did.
No. Well, anyway, Range Roar. Oh my God, so great. And it had Soupy Sales Sons, Tony
And
Hunt playing on it, because it was considered Runt. I don't know. It's still a Todd Rundgren album. You can't. I don't know if Runt was really a band or not. But what can I say about it? If you look at the reviews, All Music gave it 5-star. Robert Christgau, who hates everything, gave it a B. Rolling Stone didn't rate it because Rolling Stone could not give a rat's patootie about it. But it had 2 singles, Be Nice to Me and A Long Time, A Long Way to Go. None of those charted. This album went straight into the cutout bins. No one bought it. I don't think it got any promotion, but still, it is my number 2. And there is a quote here. Todd recalled in the 1999 CD release, he said, I was becoming so particular about arrangements, so I took a crack at playing it all by myself, but I still had some dependence on other musicians. I wasn't yet ready to play drums or to seriously address what bass playing should be like. So this is kind of like the start. This is kind of like
he's ready to spread his wings, man.
He's getting ready to spread his wings.
Just about there.
Right. Just about there, but still. He might be just about there, but that is still my number 2. So let's see what. Oh my God, I'm so backed up here. Downtown Music Gallery, Liars, late period masterpiece. Yes. Okay, Gingerbread Man is an album. Todd sings 2 songs on it. Oh my God, Zeb. Again, you're going to cause me to spend money. You do this constantly to me. Liars is so much better live in the context.
The Liars show was unforgettable.
I didn't see that.
Absolutely unforgettable.
Of course,
Chain Letter is also my favorite song on
Ricefields is gonna agree with me because this is his number 2. So Chain Letter, yes,
that is also my favorite.
Beautiful. Liars is better because it's not only synthesized digital, fantastic songs on that album. Yes. Oh my God, look at all these things. Oh, Todd. Oh yeah, Todd would have released the 2 Runt albums as a 2 LP set. The front cover was even made. It was scrapped. Well, they did they were trying. There's a picture. I don't know where you saw it, but I've seen it on the internet with him. The album covers him in front of a record store, and he's got the records sitting all like in a rack. But yeah, they scrapped it. They were going to try to push it because I think maybe because Something Anything took off. So they were going to see, well, hell, maybe this is the time to push it. And I forget. You're going to have to look on the internet. It's out there. The picture's the album cover. It's great. Range Roar was Todd's only true country song. Yeah. Yeah. Sail. Yeah. Well, they were like in early Utopia. Nothing that I don't think was recorded. There is a YT video of TR performing Chain Letter. I've seen that. I've seen that YouTube video. That's great. Yeah. The Ballad of Todd Rundgren, the LP on John Lennon's killer record player when he was caught. Ooh. Well,
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that, but we're not going to talk about it. Brian C's a Residence fan. Did you know that a bit of a trivia from Zeb there about Todd Rundgren being on a Residence album? Holy crap. I'm going to have to get that today. Now people are talking about Todd Rundgren. Ernesto, we haven't had this much interaction in the chat forever. So evidently we had a lot of interaction with the Utopia show, but holy crap, not like this show. All right. Well, we're going to zip it over to our number 1s now.
Yep.
I'm going to throw it over to Byron.
So
what's your number 1, my friend?
So Todd was not quite ready to spread his wings on Ballad of Todd Rundgren, the Todd album you just picked. But on this album, he did spread his wings. This would be my number 1. I mean, how do you not pick this one, really? Todd might pick something else. It's hard to not pick this one because, like I said, this is the album where he does everything, at least on the first 3 sides. Side 4, he brings in a whole bunch of people and they kind of record everything in the studio. But so this came out in 1972. It's on the Rolling Stones top 500 at number 173.
As well, it should be.
And made number 29 on the Billboard charts. So there's a lot of songs on here. I'm just going to kind of mention some of the ones that I really like the best that really stand out. I Saw the Light. When my wife hears that, she thinks Carole King, which I totally get that.
Yeah, it's really Laura Nero, though.
And I need to check her out. You mentioned that. I need to check that out.
Same songwriting style. He really was into her. So those there's a lot of Laura Nero on these records.
Yeah. It wouldn't have made any difference. Just a great ballad. Sweeter Memories is real soulful ballad. It's just great. Side 2 isn't as good, I think, but Saving Grace really stands out to me on that side. Side 3, Black Mariah, he plays that a lot. I've seen him play that every time I've ever seen him. Even with the new cars, he played that. Real heavy track. One More Day, real catchy. I love that song. Couldn't I Just Tell You? That is one of probably the first power pop songs that I could come up with. Really, that is a great track. And then on side 4, like we said, it's basically him and a bunch of people playing live in the studio. There's, they even have screw ups at the beginning of songs and they just count it over and they start again. Some of the things I really like on here, Dust in the Wind, which was, I just noticed that that's a Moogie Klingman song. Piss Aaron, I think is pretty good. It's kind of got a country guitar feel to it. It's not really a country tune, but the guitars really sound country. He redoes Hello, It's Me from the first Nas album. You Left Me Sore is kind of funny. It's like either about STDs or having a broken heart. I don't really know. I think it's kind of a double entendre. And actually, the last song is real rockin' tune with a lot of horns. It's called Slut. Well, I'll just leave it at that.
I love that whole album because that whole side because it's so loose and they're just having a good time in the studio.
It's just fun, and they're just goofing around and the songs are all over the place.
Who else in that era were putting anything out like this?
Yeah, great album, man.
You can't argue with that. I can't argue with that at all, Byron. That's right. Put a little saccharin in it. Yes. I'm changing the name of this record to Throw Money. Yes. So funny. Love is infectious and I was a victim. It's true. You need to listen to that song.
You left me sore.
You young guys, you could learn a lot. Yeah. No, by Todd is yes. Todd is genius. All right, let's throw it over to Mr. Todd Evans.
Okay. Before I tell you what my number 1 is,
I know I need a build up. I need a build up.
I just want to say that I am not. I did not ignore the classics on purpose. I love those albums too. I love this album.
Yes.
I love this album.
Yes.
There are no wrong answers here. Well, there would be a couple, but nobody would pick those.
These are my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
We'll get to that. We'll work honorable mentions in.
Yeah,
But my number 1 is this one. I think this is an unforgettable album. When I heard it, I was in college and it absolutely blew me away. And I think I listened to nothing else for like a solid 6 months.
I did too.
I just think that this album is so excellent, and it's like 10 songs that are 10 different kinds of music. I mean, there's like Marvin Gaye, and then there's like middle like Eastern, and then there's it's just there's soul R&B, like it's just there's so much going on here, and lyrically, it's just over the top great. Blue Orpheus is just about the coolest song I've ever heard. Johnny Jingo has, oh man, those lyrics. The throne, the pulpit, and the politician create a thirst for power in the common man. It's a taste for blood passed off as bravery or just patriotism hiding bigotry. That's just amazing. Pretending to Care is one of the best vocal performances of all time. Lost Horizon, great take on a Marvin Gaye sounding thing. Something to Fall Back On is great. The drums, the way it's, I remember him describing it in an interview that he started out with just like stomping his feet and just hitting his body with his hands and stuff like that. And it's just remarkable. Miracle in the Bazaar is amazing. It's his weirdest song, and that's saying a lot. But Lockjaw, I think, is probably my favorite. Lockjaw is hysterically funny and fantastic music to go along with it. Honest work is just brutally honest. That's the best word I can think of. It's just very powerful lyrically. I just think that this is a great album. It's hard for me. Well, it's not hard for me to imagine that they would want to shelve it, because it gets pretty weird in spots. But I just think it's his absolute best.
But
and
think
I just
about
couldn't think anything else.
Think about Albert Grossman hearing that when, 82 or whatever. Like I said before, no one was doing anything like that. It was groundbreaking. And, if you listen to it, like a record company, they would sit there and go,
this track can go. This track can go. Why aren't there any drums?
Yeah. Right. Where's the drums? Where's the guitar? Right. Where's the guitar solos? It's just.
But Byron was talking about Todd having albums where he did everything, and this one, I mean, is really he's really doing everything basically with his mouth. But it's funny because when Nearly Human came out, as good as that is, I was actually disappointed because he wasn't doing anything. I was like, who are all these people? They're really great people, but Todd's supposed to do everything himself. And so that may be why I like this the best, is because my favorite Todd albums are the ones where he does everything himself.
Mm-hmm.
For me, if you want a band, then that's Utopia.
Right. Oh my God, I agree. Well, it's like Prince. I don't want to bring Prince in, but all those early Prince albums, all Prince, until what? You get to like Graffiti Bridge. Well, I mean, you had the Revolution on, but still, you listen to Purple Rain, still a lot of that's just Prince. You think it's the Revolution, but it's Prince playing everything. That's what I like about those 80s albums. And it's the same thing with Todd. I like when Todd's doing it all, I think, Only Human's fine, but then he had that whole band thing. And I was kind of like, but it was fine. But to me, it was a bit of a letdown because it came after a cappella, and I thought a cappella was just such a major work. But, you have to give these artists a little bit of slack. Yeah, it was probably a little less work for Todd to produce Nearly Human. Think about it. He can put the band together, practice the band. He's not having to think about if you ever heard an interview with him on how he did a cappella. I mean, it was all done on tape. I mean, it took him forever to do it. That's
probably why he was a little miffed that it wouldn't come out.
Yeah. It is a artistic breakthrough. I don't want to say a milestone, because to do that record and take all these snippets, absolutely amazing. It's a wonder he didn't burn through tape and all the oxide fell off, but maybe it did.
I like Nearly Human because it sounded different than what he'd been doing. I mean, acapella was different than what he'd been doing the previous 5 years, but I felt like Hermit of Mink Hollow and Ever Popular Torture Artist Effect sounded very, very similar in a lot of ways. And I like that Nearly Human was completely different sounding than those.
Yeah, but he could have done Nearly Human with Utopia, though.
I remember when Nearly Human came out, I thought to myself, he's finally going to get some recognition. He's finally going to have a hit record because he was on Warner Brothers, and it was their first album that he was on.
That's what I thought too.
That on Warner Brothers that wasn't already done, and I thought, well, this is it, and this is great because it's going
Warner
to happen.
Brothers can give him more backing,
right?
So he'll be able to put out more records and actually get the recognition he deserves. That's exactly what I thought too. I was excited. I went, oh my God, it's on Warner Brothers. Yeah, great.
But, yeah, a couple of those tunes on Nearly Human sound like a Utopia track. Maybe they were backed by those guys too, but there were definitely a couple that sounded like Utopia. So,
I wanted to say, JD, I love State, and Surreality is one of my very favorite Todd Rundgren songs. And when he plays it live, it's fantastic. And I love Party Liquor.
Wait a minute, JD, we haven't done our honorable mentions yet. So
right. I just didn't want that to go by without mentioning that I love State.
Don't leave a thumbs down. Please don't leave a thumbs down. Todd claimed Prince song 1,000 times. Oh, I would believe it. I would think that. Well, think about it. Todd Rundgren would be right up Prince's alley. I'm sure he did.
Well, where was Prince from again?
Minneapolis.
Minneapolis, that's right. I don't know if he'd have 1,000 opportunities to see Todd. Maybe if he lived in Pennsylvania, but.
Well, we're talking about Zeb. I'm sure he's.
That's a cool factoid, though. I like that.
I like that factoid.
I'm going to believe it. Does anybody want to take this one? Because I have an answer for this.
No, go ahead. I don't think I've heard Global.
I like all of those albums, but I think that those albums all have, like, with the exception of With a Twist, which I actually like, but I think One Long Year and Global each have like a couple of songs that stand above the rest. I think for One Long Year, I think Where Does the Time Go is one of Todd's very best songs. And for Global, I really love Terra Firma. That's one of my favorite Todd songs. So I do like those albums.
There you go.
I've listened to everything in the last 10 years, maybe once. So I can't really.
It doesn't.
I don't have enough history with those albums to really comment on them. They could be great, but I've only listened to them once. So
yeah, I get it. Nearly Human is his Philly roots. Yep. Global's the only Todd I do not own. I'm going to write that down, DC Tune Time. Let me write that down to make sure I don't forget that you don't own that. Those are, yeah. Well, those aren't most people's favorite records. It's okay. Bonus DVD, The Unpredictable. I didn't know it came.
Oh, mine didn't come with that.
Damn it, Zeb. Man, always gloating. 18 watching, only 13 thumbs up. Yeah, man, come on, people, give us a thumbs up. Well, 18's pretty good for a live show. Normally we don't get that. Well, that's about right. People never tune in for these live shows. I like doing the live show because it's like, riding your motorcycle without a helmet, kind of like that. One Long Year was released around.
Yeah, the Patronet. That was the people's chance to get those songs, the Patronet songs, if they didn't subscribe to Patronet. And I came very close a couple of times to doing that, but I think a lot of that stuff came out.
Here
later.
Comes Ernesto busting our balls. Everyone is very knowledgeable about Todd, but what is it about the music?
No, he says that is what it's about, the music. This is what it's about, the music.
I misinterpreted that in my worked up state. You're right, Zeb. Thank you, Zeb. I'm just giving you crap. I hit that thumbs up. It was an awesome conversation. Well, we're not done yet. We're getting
close.
Thanks, DC.
I'll get JD. Please subscribe. Thank you, my man. I appreciate it. The Surf Talks.
I like the Surf Talks too.
I don't know what the Surf Talks is.
It's the last song on One Long Year.
I see. I have never heard that one. No love for the individualists are ever popular.
Give it a minute, Ricefield.
Give it a minute. Hold on, Ricefield. Calm down there, my friend. Hold on. I have to give my number one.
So you do. Sorry.
Right.
You haven't done one?
No.
See, I kept running my
talking.
Go for it.
The panel's talking to the people. We love it. We'd love that we can interact with everybody. All right, my number one. I cannot not do this. It's Todd Rundgren, Something Anything. Basically, Byron covered it all. There are tracks on here. It's experimental. It's fun. There's not one weak track on it. I can see where Rolling Stone would put this in their album lists, the greatest albums of all time. We've never seen Todd do something like this. I guess the only thing that would come close would probably be what, Hermit, or Tortured Artist, maybe, but not on this grandiose scale. Like I said, how old was Todd when this came out? 25, 23, 25?
23 probably.
Yeah. What did John Lennon say? You're only 25 once. He could never put out this magnum opus again. So, but anyway, I don't have to say much more than what Byron said. This is absolutely brilliant. This has been my number one from the get-go. But we do have honorable mentions that we're going to talk about. So let's see what much love for, you mean Queen Jazz? Dave, the pickup artist. How are you? Much love for He must be talking Queen. Todd has an amazing sense of humor. He does. Individual. Oh, JD, individualist.
So does Todd Rundgren.
A minute.
Okay. Why don't we? Who wants to go first with their honorable mentions?
Byron can go.
Byron, go.
I won't cover everything that JD's asking about, and I'll save room for Todd. We should throw the first Run album in here. This is his first album post the Nas. The hit on here was "We Gotta Get You a Woman," which most everybody should know. But a very good album. I'll move on. And then I only probably go into Wizard of True Star, which is kind of a prog album. It's almost the anti Something Anything album in some ways. He did what he did in Something Anything. He says, now I'm going to do something completely different. And it's a lot of really short songs and a lot of variety to it.
Yes.
Then I will also, last one I'll bring up will be Hermit of Mink Hollow, which is really a wonderful album. This was probably my 4, to be honest with you, or 5.
Mm-hmm.
Can We Still Be Friends was the big hit on here, but All the Children Sing. Bread, I like that. You Cried Wolf. It just got a lot of great songs on it. It's hard to leave that one off my list. All right, go ahead, Todd.
Excellent.
All right. So this was mentioned. This was very close to being my number 3, The Individualist. I think this is crazy underrated. I think that Family Values and Women's World are just lyrically totally awesome. And I think The Ultimate Crime is just incredible. And I like Espresso All Jacked Up. So yes, that one. We've already talked about this one.
Yep.
And we didn't talk about this one, but I like this one a lot.
Oh yeah, check.
I think side 1 is really strong, and I love Drive and Chant. So yeah, that one. And right here, we just talked about that. But and I would put
my signed copy.
Oh, cool. I would put I would say Liars too, but I didn't bring it as a prop. But yeah,
there you go. Can't beat it. I want to share this. The Todd Rundgren radio sampler. This is an interview conducted by, this is a promo for Back to the Bars and, what's her name? Brain Problem. Patti Smith conducts an interview with Todd on here. I got this back in the day. I mean, it's on Bearsville. Oh, I'm thinking I got this like in 84, 85. At Capital City Records in Columbus, which is long gone. In fact, that used to be a record store that I think was beside Singing Dog, if anybody remembers that, but I bought it. It was $30.
Wow.
So it was expensive, but I haven't seen one of these. I know it exists. You probably can get it on Discogs, but as a collectible and an interview with Todd, it's very good because, Todd produced Patty. This was all around that same time period. So highly recommend that promo if you get it. But of course, I'm going to go with the usual ones. Wizard of True Star. How can you not? I mean, I could almost put that in my, top 3, but it's just not quite there. Though I appreciate it. I appreciate it on the level of acapella for it being very experimental and Todd doing what Todd does and what Todd does best. And what he does best is being Todd, just like Todd Evans. The other one I want to recommend, I don't think anybody's recommended, but the Todd album. And in fact, I've got the version with the poster. Anybody seen the poster? Well, here it is. All the names. But I think this is a great record too. I think this is a little underrated. I think, a lot of the reviews at the time, they kind of, but I think it's great. It's right up there with Wizard.
It's got great
accessible.
standout tracks on
Yes.
it. It just, it could use a little editing.
Well, a lot of things. Yeah, I get it. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh yeah, Dave. What, Dave? I got 12 months for stealing a calendar from Marion, Ohio. Yeah, don't steal anything, Dave, in Marion, Ohio. They don't like you to do that.
I wish this one was a little longer.
But this
But
is my other one.
Still on one piece of vinyl, right? But longer.
But I'm going to mention a Tortured Artist Effect because I think this kind of goes under the radar too.
Yeah,
I mean, it's got Bang of the drum on it, but Hideaway on here.
Mm-hmm.
Come on,
Yeah.
Hideaway. Oh my God, it's got Tin Soldier on it. Oh, Influenza. Don't hurt yourself.
Good album.
Those are all great songs.
There Goes My Baby. Come on, it's great. It's people love it when he does the pop stuff. Emperor of the Highway sounds like something off the Todd album. Really, there's not one record in my collection that I dislike. I could list them all for God's sakes. Heavy Metal Kids, I think is that love? It's great.
Oh, I want to show this real quick.
What is that?
This is a promotional single for Something to Fall Back On.
Mm-hmm.
And when I saw the acapella show, Todd wouldn't come out, but there was somebody who came out and said, "Hey, Todd will sign something if you give me one thing. Todd will sign it." And I actually I gave him this, and I waited about a half an hour, and it came back signed. Yeah. And there was I also sent back my copy of Utopia POV in case him signed it.
I remember going to that show a cappella, and then we were standing in line because, believe it or not, kids, back in 1985, you would have to wait in line to get in to see Todd. I swear to God, it's not like it is now. But back then, you would have to wait. We waited probably like an hour to get in, and we weren't even up front. But we saw Chasm go by, and we yelled at Chasm going in the alley, "Hey, Chasm," all that. But that show he signed, if you remember, Todd, at that a cappella show, they had like flyers or little.
Yeah.
They talked about the fan club and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he signed stuff in the alley in the motorhome, so we could go up there. I shook his hand, and he signed that flyer thing. I've got it somewhere. But yeah, you could just take stuff to him and he would sign it. It was cool. Oh man, this is such a great edit Todd. Well, let's see. Oh, look, Zep said edit Todd. No, you can't edit. You can't edit Todd.
Sorry, Zeb.
My friend tried to pull my Todd 8-track out of my player in my car at the end. Is that love? He thought the player was eating up the tape. Well, DC, I could see that. And don't hold that against your friend. He was only trying to help.
See, this right here.
I understand. Well, I could have needed editing, but let Todd do his thing.
I agree.
Whereas, thank God it's a 2 LP. Yeah, because some of that stuff we might not have ever heard again. I don't know. Agree to disagree. But we all love Todd here. That's all that matters. Todd played his killer guitar solo on Jim Steinman's album. Oh, God, was that just called Jim Steinman? That was supposed to be a Meatloaf album, wasn't it?
I think so.
Correct. Yeah. That was his voice jacked up at the time, I think.
Wow. Bryce, I'm guessing you're not a huge fan of the B side of Initiation. It has to be my number one Todd composition.
man.
Wow.
Wow.
Damn, Zeb. You never, it's nice to have Zeb here in the chat because you just never know what he's going to throw out.
Yeah, I don't
Zeb, you are correct.
play that a lot.
Oh, Ernesto, the thinking man's man. So the question is Todd better an artist or a producer?
Better artist, but he makes more money as a producer.
Artist.
I'd say artist too, but he knows what to do with look at his work on Skylarking, for God's sakes. I'll just leave it at that. But he still, I think, is an artist. Yeah. Zeb, you may stand alone on that one. All right, gentlemen. Well, we've gone. I don't know what time it is. It's 8:14. We probably should wrap this dog up. We haven't done long shows like this in a while. But I understand Todd's there would be a huge void in my life without Todd's music. I get it. Well, I think Todd was doing a lot of LSD during Initiation too. So, all right, boys. Do you have anything else to add before we wrap this up?
No.
I think I've.
Gentlemen, I think we've done it. We've talked
Yeah.
our top 3 Todd Rundgren albums. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for showing up. I want to thank everybody for leaving a thumbs up, leaving a comment. This has been a fun show. This is why I like doing live shows, because I love the interaction with everybody. So like I said, I want to thank everybody to come on, and I want to thank Byron, Boldt, and Todd Evans for doing this show with me. This was fun. This was a lot of fun. So on that note, I'm going to turn this thing off and we'll go on with our day. Everybody have a good night. Zeb, get some sleep. Rice Fields, I know you're over there in Japan. You get some sleep too. And DC, what can I say? Thanks for coming on. All right, gentlemen, we'll see you, and we'll see you on the next one.